Okay, so here we are live once again with another Mcfarlane DC Multiverse unboxing, and this is Batman. It's not just Batman, it's Batman from the 1989 Batman film, directed by Tim Burton, starring Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, Michael Gough as Alfred, Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon, Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, Tracy Walter as Bob the Goon, Pat Hingle was Commissioner Gordon. Did I say him already? And Michael Keaton as the Dark Knight detective himself, Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. Ah, yes, this was a very special movie for me growing up. Like I've been a fan of Batman for as long as I can remember. The first time I ever saw the character would have been on Super Friends, watched the Adam West television show, watched the Filmation cartoons, read the comic book, got really into the comic book. Growing up, loved the TV show, loved the comic book, but I couldn't help but notice the comic book was a little different from the TV show. I was growing up in a post Bronze Age world, a Neil Adams Batman world, eventually a Frank Miller Batman world. So, Batman in the comic books was a bit more serious and a lot more dark. And the comics that I was reading, in my tween age years, we were reading like Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One, and Death in the Family, and Batman the Cult, The Killing Joke. Oh man, Batman comics were getting really dark at that time. But the only live action version of Batman that we had was Adam West. And as much as I loved Adam West, and he's still probably my favorite live action version of Batman, I was definitely ready to see something a little edgier, a little closer to the comic book. And in 1989, I was 13 years old. I was exactly the right age to appreciate it. Along comes the 1989 Batman movie. And we got this figure to open up. Now, I've already opened up a very similar figure to this before. Is he does use a lot of parts that were already used on this Batman figure that came with the Batmobile, and of course, that's one that was already in a multi-pack of uh, I think every actor from Michael Keaton on to Robert Pattinson. Which is the main reason I didn't want to buy that set. I don't need a Robert Pattinson Batman figure, thanks. But yeah, Keaton being one of the best live action versions of Batman, of course McFarlane's going to do multiple editions of Michael Keaton of Batman. So far they've put out three different versions of this 1989 Batman, and they've got a whole wave of Batman Returns on the way. So we'll finally get a Batman Returns Batman in Multiverse. I already cut the tape. That's what you saw me doing right there. I was thinking about opening up for my next one, the Christian Bale Batman from Batman Begins. I am pretty excited about that one, especially since I haven't opened a Christian Bale Batman at all in this line. Being a fine figure is here, and he says, the best Batman there is. Well, yeah, he's definitely like one of the best Batmans for me. I don't know if I could name like a best Batman, because I kind of figure a lot of it depends on what you're looking for. But Keaton is definitely in my top three. I'd say my three favorites. Adam West is still my most favorite. But I don't know if I'd say he's even if I'd even say he's the best. Best is hard for me to say. But I like Adam West because he was the one I grew up with, and I like Michael Keaton because, like I said, he was the first time I really saw that kind of like darker, edgier Batman in live action. And I really like Ben Affleck because Ben Affleck, I feel like, is stepped right off of the comic book. Christian Bale is awesome. I love Christian Bale. I thought all the Nolan films were great. Yes, I even love Dark Knight Rises. I feel like that's probably the most underrated Christopher Nolan movie. Some people say it's Christopher Nolan's worst movie, but maybe it is. But even being the worst Christopher Nolan movie is still better than most directors' best movie. Nice picture on the back of Keaton in black and white, looking very moody. I'm guessing that's actually Keaton. It's probably not one of the stunt guys. I know one of the stunt guys goes by the name of Ballet Bat on Instagram. I follow him. He posts a lot of interesting pictures. I'm trying to get the trading card off of here, but man, this one's going to be a doozy. Here, I finally got it off. I finally got it off. Okay, and didn't damage the card or anything. Same picture we saw on the back of the package, of course. Here's what the back looks like, and it reads Batman 1989, data file, real name Bruce Wayne. Having witnessed his parents' brutal murder as a child, millionaire philanthropist Bruce Wayne fights crime in Gotham City, disguised as Batman, a costume hero who strikes fear into the hearts of villains. But when a deformed madman who calls himself the Joker seizes control of Gotham City's criminal underworld, Batman must face his most ruthless nemesis ever while protecting both his identity and his love interest, reporter Vicky Vale. Not only is this a really good bio that tells us a lot about this specific version of Batman, but it also, gives us a nice little summary of the movie itself. Look at all the accessories this guy comes with. We're gonna have some fun with this. But yeah, I was thinking about opening Christian Bale up on the next episode, but then I realized today is actually June 23rd, which is the date that 31 years ago Batman premiered in theaters. So I thought to myself, it's got to be the Michael Keaton Batman that I open up today, because it's destiny. It's the stars aligning so that I open this particular figure on this particular day. I've had him for a while and like had a lot of themes and stuff going on. So like it's been delayed from the time that I got it, but it only wound up being at the best possible time to do it, which is on the anniversary of the release of this fine motion picture anyway. And well, some Batman movies, like, I think you could say, at least on a technical level, Christopher Nolan's Batman movies might be, better than the 1989 Batman movie. I gotta say that I still think the 1989 Batman movie is the one that got the tone exactly right. And there's been other Batman movies, of course, and they've done a pretty good job with the tone. But to me, like, the 1989 Batman movie is the one that feels most like reading a comic book. And of course, I think the greatest legacy of the 1989 Batman movie is that Batman the Animated Series was a spinoff from it. And of course, that's probably the best version of Batman. So, if I have to pick one, that's going to be one of the ones that I pick. All right, so here he is out of the package, looking pretty good, but we'll look at him a little bit more in a minute. Let's set him aside and look at some of these accessories, because like I said, he's got a ton of accessories, which, look like pretty impressive accessories for the most part. So first of all, he's got these rods. Those are going to go in his cape. Let's go ahead and set those aside for the moment. I'm going to have some things to say about that cape, and they're not all going to be good, I'm afraid. But yeah, he's got two of these rods. We'll set those aside. And then he's got this little doodad here. This is all stuff like, us fans are going to recognize, which makes me happy. He's got this little communicator doodad. And you might remember that as being the little gadget that, he holds up to his mouth and says, stop, right before the Batmobile is about to hit him. And it's even got, this is some nice attention to detail, it's got like a little teeny tiny silver bat symbol right underneath the microphone. It's very cool looking. And next, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember these in the movie at all. And I don't remember them being used in the movie personally, but I know that they were actual props that were made for the movie, and that's these shurikens here, which are all often referred to as the Dirks. That's what those were referred to in the 1989 Batman video game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. That was probably actually his most formidable weapon that he had. He had a spear gun and he had a batarang. When I was pretty killer with that batarang, honestly. But these throwing stars, whenever he would throw them, they would like split into three, and they were pretty badass. So as a fan of the video game, I really enjoy these. Hey, Mcfarlane, if you got time, before the license lapse, uh, maybe go ahead and repaint this guy in purple. I know the NECA purple Batman figure looks really cool for the NES version. Being a fine figure says, careful, when I tried the rods, I wound up ripping the pockets on one side. I will be extremely careful. Thanks for the tip. I'll put that up on the screen for a second so everybody can see that, because that's important. That's important. Let's make sure we don't do that. All right, we got more accessories. Oh, there's so many accessories. You got extra hands, which that's going to come in handy considering how he's going to have stuff to grab onto. So we got a solid fist for the left hand and a solid fist for the right hand. And those are the same fists that actually came on the Batmobile figure that I was showing earlier. Those, which, that means he can't really grip a steering wheel. It's kind of odd, but whatever. And then we've got a gripping hand. This is like a Batarang type gripping hand for the right hand. And then another gripping hand for the right hand. And this one looks like it's a little more made to hold the grapple gun. We'll get to those in a second because we still got more weapons. And then finally this open hand for the left hand. And I'm a little disappointed to look at it and see that it doesn't have the little metal studs in the palm of the hand. I think that would have been a nice thing to see, but it looks like they missed that little piece of attention to detail. But I'm glad to have this hand because it does remind me a lot of the part where he's in the cathedral and the guy's jumping towards him with the knives attached to his boots, and Batman just kind of throws his arm up and that panel kind of pops out of his glove. And when the guy's jumping at him with the knives on his feet, the panel hits him right in the nuts. Yeah, I love that. That's that kind of forethought that only Batman could have, to invent a device that just in case somebody's jumping at me with knives on his feet, I can hit him in the nuts with this thing. If it was Adam West, fortunately I had my bat anti guy jumping at me with knives on his boots and hits him in the nuts device. So there's the grapple gun, very cool looking. It's got the grappling hook sticking out of it, and no, it is not removable. It seems like it's stuck in there pretty good, but nice, detailed, very accurate to what we saw in the movie. And the last accessory we got here, but certainly not the least of the accessories, the most iconic tool in Batman's arsenal, the weapon that has struck fear into the hearts of criminals since 1939, Batarang. Oh yeah, and it does look like it's a little more rounded and a little more chunky than the one we saw in the movie, but it is definitely you can definitely tell it's based on the design of the Michael Keaton Batarang. I figure probably the reasons for the changes in shape was so it'd be easier for the figure to grip in his hand. Oh, and we got one more accessory. I almost forgot. Got the figure stand, and here it is. Typical matte black figure stand with a shiny DC logo on it. So let's go ahead and put the box back together, and I can toss that in recycling later. And by the way, for those of you who do want to watch the Christian Bale episode, that's going to be in the next episode. So if you want to make sure you don't miss it, make sure you like and subscribe and all that fun stuff that I have to say so that, the algorithm at least pretends to pay attention to me. All right. So there we go with that. Let's move on. So here is our Batman figure out of the package. And let's compare him to the Batmobile figure for a minute. Now, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the exact same figure, only with a few minor differences that I'm about to point out. So I'm just going to look him over and compare. And yep, I'm not really seeing any differences. Same head sculpt, same arms, same torso, same belt. The only real differences are the cape and some of the paint details, and I'm going to point those out right now. You can see that the Batmobile figure had a gold bat emblem and a gold belt, of course. And this one still has a gold belt, but you can see it's a little more shiny, a little brighter, and a little more shiny, and a little warmer shade of gold, I think. And this Batman has a bright yellow disc on his bat emblem instead of the gold disc that the Batmobile figure had. And while this may be more accurate as far as the coloring, I got to say I like the gold a little bit better, just because it, even though it's not as accurate, it feels more accurate. Does that make any sense? And also, one problem I'll point out with this is the gold kind of spills over the outer part of the emblem. I'll see if I can get it focus a little bit. There's supposed to be like a black ring around the edge of this emblem, but instead it's a yellow ring, so it just makes the yellow oval look a bit thicker. So that's slightly disappointing. All right, so let's have a look at this cape. And here's these pockets on the side that Being a Fine Figure was telling us about. And he's supposed to grip onto these with these poles. He's supposed to grip onto the poles, and the poles are supposed to go into the cape. So as he suggests, be very careful when I insert those in there. Okay. This is that kind of like, I don't know what you call this kind of fabric, but it's kind of satiny. And to me, like, it's not quite really what you'd want the Michael Keaton Batman cape to be. Like, you really pleather would have been more appropriate, I think. The story as to how this cape was made by Bob Ringwood is he wound up taking a big round table and he poured the liquid latex onto the table and basically used it as a mold, and then just cut it out and cut the scallops off of it and cut like a wedge out of it so that it could wrap around Michael Keaton. And that was how they made that cape. And in some places, that latex was like 2 inches thick on some of these capes. Bobby Wald says if you hold your two Batmans together like they're almost kissing, does it make the Wolverine face like the meme? Well, I don't know why they'd want to almost kiss. Why wouldn't they just, go all out? Batman don't do anything half-assed. So, speaking of Wolverine, I still need to open up this guy. So, he'll be coming up soon. That'll probably be, his hand came off. That'll be something that I'll probably be opening up. I'll probably try to do Wolverine sometime in between when I'm doing some of this DC Multiverse stuff I'm doing, and when I get my my big bad toy store order, my next big bad toy store order that's going to have more Masters of the Universe. So we'll have some more Masters of the Universe shortly, and some Ninja Turtles stuff. But I don't want to say too much about that right now. You just kind of wait and see what Ninja Turtles stuff I got. But all right, so there we got the rods in there, and I gotta say, like, I think they overthought the whole rod situation. I mean, it is not. It is a pretty cool solution to how to do this, but I kind of feel like they might as well just gave him a wired cape, and I don't understand why they didn't just give him a wired cape. I kind of feel like that's something I've come to expect these McFarlane figures to have a wired cape. And honestly, I was really disappointed when I realized that this new Michael Keaton figure was not going to have a wired cape. Now, to be fair, I mean that's how they did the Batman cape in the movie. He's got rods in there that keep it stiff when he holds it up like that. And it does look really cool, but I think I could have gotten the same effect with the wired cape, and I think that's probably how they should have. That's probably how they should have done that. So I'm probably gonna, when I take the picture for the thumbnail, probably gonna do them with the spread wing. By the way, one of my favorite figures from the old Dark Knight collection, that was Shadow Wing Batman, and he was the one that we squeeze his legs, his arms will pop up, and he'd have his cape spread out like that. So this is almost like a more modern version of that, isn't it? So since Bobby Wald just really wants to see Batman kiss, there you go. There's your Wolverine face. All right. So, and like, while it might sound like I was complaining about the cape, I actually think it looks pretty good. The shininess of it does look pretty decent. Like I said, pleather would probably be more appropriate, but I actually do kind of prefer this, even though like I was nitpicking about it. I actually do kind of like this better, just because in my experience, pleather kind of tends to get worn and cracked, and maybe it's just because I live in a part of the country that's very warm and humid, but yeah, I think I'm probably actually happier to have the satin. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these accessories. I think I can fit the throwing star into this hand. So there we go. There he is holding the throwing star. And I think we can also fit this Batmobile remote control device into his hand. So there he is with that. Stop. All right. Now let's look at some of these other accessories. And like I said, this one seems to me like it's made specifically to hold the grappling hook launcher. So let's go ahead and pop that one in there. And we can see him with that. Oh, yeah, that looks good. Yeah. If we can. There he is about to launch the grappling hook. You weigh a little bit more than 108. And then we've got this hand. And like I said, this is the hand that to me looks like it was made to hold the Batarang. So let's go ahead and get that in there. Da-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na. Man, how great was Danny Elfman's score for 1989 Batman? I think honestly that was my favorite. That was my favorite Batman score of all. Still is. And there he is about to hurl the Batarang, and some evildoers probably about to wrap some metal cable around the ankles of a hapless mugger on a rooftop and drag him across the gravel before he holds him off the ledge. Don't kill me! Don't kill me, man! I'm not gonna kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me. What are you? I'm Batman. Oh, yeah. Crazy Hungarian is here, and he says, I can't pick my favorite Batman. Grew up with Adam West, but just love Keaton in the role. Well, then you and me are in the same boat, my friend. That was the sentiment I was just expressing. So, yeah, I love Michael Keaton. I love Adam West. I love Ben Affleck. I love Christian Bale. I love Val Kilmer. George Clooney would have been a good Batman if he had a better script, some better direction, and the less said about Robert Pattinson, the better. We'll just not talk about Robert Pattinson. I'm sorry out there to anybody in the audience who's a fan of Robert Pattinson, but you're going down a path I can't follow. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation, because we all want to talk about the articulation, don't we? So as I pointed out before, Batman looks up about that far, looks down about that far, tilts his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotates the head all the way around. Of course, that means that this Batman action figure can do a better job moving his head than Michael Keaton could in real life. So yeah, I do think that what we have as a problem with some of these because of the head joints is the neck. I think looks a little bit too narrow in relation to the head. I think the neck probably should be just a little bit thicker. But I think it, to me, for whatever reason, looks a little bit better than the one that came with the Batmobile. Maybe it's just the type of plastic they used or something like that. But there it is. Of course, Batman can rotate his arm all the way around at the shoulders. He's got those cool Mcfarlane butterfly joints, so you can kind of wiggle them up and down, back and forth, any which way you want to. Of course, he's got a bicep swivel. Bicep rotates all the way around. By the way, his arms are raised up to the side, about that far. So pretty decent motion there. Got double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbows. Of course, the wrists are on the cool Mcfarlane ball joints that move around any which way you want to. So that's nice. Batman's got this great torso articulation that we're used to seeing on the Mcfarlane torsos. Of course, rotates all the way around where the rib cage meets the abs and where the abs meet the utility belt. Batman can kick up about that far, which is not actually that far, but dude's wearing a rubber suit. What do you expect of him? And he's got that little bit of wobble there, like Mcfarlane figures tend to have. It doesn't rotate all the way around, but it moves just enough. I got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. Does not have any kind of boot cut or shin articulation whatsoever, but he's got the cool Mcfarlane ball jointed ankles, which of course rotate all the way around when the ankle meets the shin and where the ankle meets the foot. And then, of course, the foot can point down. Oops, sorry. Gotta get it rotated back in the right position. Oh, you're being particular, aren't you? There we go. I think I got it now. All right, foot points down about that far. Foot points up about that far. He does have this little piece of armor here that kind of gets in the way a little bit, but it's still a pretty good range of motion, I think. Trivia note for those of you who don't know, and any of the hardcore Batman 1989 fans, I'm sure know this already. Batman's boots were actually built out of Nike Air Jordans. They had a promotional deal with Nike to get the shoes into the movie, and they actually incorporated them into his Bat boots. So Michael Keaton probably has the most comfy boots of any Batman that's ever been, because he's got some nice comfy Air Jordan sneakers. And those sneakers are worth quite a bit of money on the aftermarket today. And I'm sure not just because of the Batman 1989 costume community, which want to buy them all up and use them in their costumes. But of course, Jordan sneakers are kind of collector's items, like just in general. So anyway, this is a great figure, and I'm really happy with how he turned out. I do think that they could have done a better job with the cape. And I'm only saying this because I really feel like they should have done a wired cape. Like even if they really wanted to do this mechanism with the poles, which worked out better than I would have thought. I still feel like that it probably would have been for the best if they had done the wired cape as well. I'm gonna go ahead and put these hands back onto them so I can, when I take the thumbnail, I want to take them with the cape all spread out and have them look as shadow wing Batman as possible. So we're going to go ahead and get that put back together. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about not just this figure itself, but just Michael Keaton's Batman in general and the 1989 Batman movie. And, weigh in with some of your memories and opinions and thoughts on the film, since it is the anniversary today. So very happy about that. It was definitely a watershed moment in my life. Probably one of the movies that I was most excited about ever, because I remember just being psyched even just to hear they were making a Batman movie. Like, I first read about it in an issue of Comic Scene magazine, where they did an interview with Sam Hamm, the screenwriter, and he was talking about like some of his ideas as to how the movie was going to work. And I remember reading him saying that like he didn't want it to be the sort of thing like when people saw Batman, they would regard him with like awe and mystery. And he said he didn't want it to be the sort of thing where people would see Batman and there's the mailman, there's the milkman, there's the Batman. No, he wanted him to be something where like people just kind of freaked out when they saw him. And I'm like, of course that makes sense. Like, why he wears this outfit to scare criminals, he's supposed to be a scary guy. There we go. No, I think I just found our thumbnail. Yeah, I'll stand him in front of the Bat Cave, and that is cool looking. But yeah, like and then there was like the big controversy about them casting Michael Keaton as Batman. And of course, even though Michael Keaton, like, I think everybody would agree with me when I say that he's a great actor and he's capable of doing a lot of things. And we've seen him do a broad range of performances over the years. But at that time, the thing Michael Keaton was most famous for was he was Mr. Mom. You know, he was Mr. Mom, he was Johnny Dangerously, he was Beetlejuice, and most people thought of him as being like solidly a comedic actor. And of course, since the Batman television show was the most famous version of Batman at that time, and that one was more of a comedy. A lot of people thought that, oh, it's going to be a comedy, but no, they cast Keaton as Batman because they knew he could pull off the intensity, you know. And Burton said that he felt like he needed somebody that you felt like when you were watching the movie that this is somebody who had a reason to put on this bat suit to be intimidating. And Keaton, he kind of felt like that was what he was giving off. And frankly, I thought it was even at the time, I thought it was good casting because I'm just like, I don't really care if he's a comedic actor or not. He's a good actor. That was all I cared about. You know, I'd seen him in a lot of things, and I was a fan of Michael Keaton even at that age. And granted, the main reason I was a fan of his was because of movies like Mr. Mom and Johnny Dangerously and Beetlejuice. But I kind of figured if he got a chance to be scary, he could actually be scary. Bobby Wald says after seeing how Tim Burton did with Batman, I would have been interested in seeing that Nick Cage Superman he was thinking about doing. Oh, they were more than thinking about it. They were gonna do it. Like there were costume fittings and everything. And like I'm a huge fan of Nicolas Cage. I think he's a great actor. And I think he actually would have done a good job in the role. I would have liked to have seen like I think his acting would have been good, is what I'm saying. I think the problem with Nicolas Cage as Superman is that I kind of feel like Superman is one of those characters that when you're watching it, you have to like kind of lose yourself in it and buy into that character completely. And Nicolas Cage being a guy with quite a repertoire behind him, quite a resume, quite a list of roles and great performances. I kind of feel like the biggest problem with Nicolas Cage's Superman is that you would have looked up on the screen and just seen Nicolas Cage in a Superman outfit. And that would have been, and like, I don't know, maybe his acting would have been good enough that I wouldn't have cared. But there wouldn't have been that kind of you will believe a man can fly. It would have been, you know, he's Nicolas Cage. Can you really buy into like you know, him as Superman if you keep thinking about him being like the guy from Raising Arizona or Face Off, or as great as those movies were, as great as his performances? I seriously think Nicolas Cage is a good actor, a great actor. I'm not somebody who's saying that ironically because of like meme reasons. He's a fantastic actor. And like I said, I think his acting would have been good. I would have liked to, I agree with you that I would have liked to have seen his take on Superman, but I'm wondering if it would have actually worked. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that because I think he would have done a bad job. He would have done a tremendous job. But I kind of wonder if it would have been the sort of thing where it's like, you know, the viewers could have really bought into him as Superman just because of the baggage that he brought with me. But yeah, it definitely would have been cool to see if they ever invent a way to travel into parallel universes. That's definitely a parallel universe I'd like to visit and see how that movie turned out. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back on the next episode with the Batman Begins Batman. Hey, this movie just had an anniversary too. Maybe I'm a few days too late on doing that, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Maybe I should have thought about that at the time when I saw it was the anniversary of this particular film. But I think I was in the middle of doing like Super Friends, or that was in the middle of Batman 66 stuff at the time. So unfortunately, that's just how it worked out. But hey, we'll talk about it on the next episode. So again, make sure you like and subscribe. I guess I can't say like and subscribe enough since the algorithm likes that you do that. But that's it for this episode. I'm going to go ahead and take this thumbnail for this picture and then probably try to get a little bit of rest because I've had a pretty exhausting week. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next time. Bye. Oh, Chowny Ma is here. I just barely missed. Yeah, I just barely missed you. Sorry, but at least I got to say hi. But you can go back and watch the replay. It's fine. But thanks for stopping by. It's always good to see you. So maybe you'll be able to catch the next one where I open up the Batman Begins figure. All right, we'll talk to you next time. Bye.